Do you have that one film that you watched during your childhood that at the time didn't particularly stand out as anything great, but as you grow older realise how special it really was? Like most kids growing up, I had a fascination with Disney and Pixar films, mainly due to their mass production and visibility in mainstream media. Disney and Pixar films from the mid-90s to late 2000s were eye-catching for young children due to their innovative and unique premises, like the idea of the monsters in our closets being friendly and caring creatures who were just doing their jobs. The only fault with this is they fall into the same formula in terms of conveying the same tone and atmospheric qualities. These films may have a different look, but they all feel the same. And when other production companies like DreamWorks became more prominent in mainstream media with their own unique yet more mature narratives, these young children's attentions wandered elsewhere for new and exciting films. One film that highlighted its innovation and individuality in just its pre-production alone is the 2009 film Coraline. Coraline is written and directed by Henry Selick based on Neil Gaiman's 2002 novel of the same name. The narrative follows a young girl named Coraline after she and her parents move across the country to a large apartment complex called the Pink Palace to start a new life after an unclassified incident. Her parents are busy with their work after the move, causing Coraline to feel bored and alone as she has nobody to talk to or entertain herself with as both her parents are constantly working. After becoming annoyed at her constant attempts of gaining their attention, Coraline's mother sends her out to meet their neighbours and to explore their new home. While exploring the grounds surrounding the Pink Palace, she meets a black cat in Wybie, the grandson of the landlady whose sister mysteriously disappeared when they were Coraline's age. A day after meeting, Wybie gives Coraline a button-eyed ragdoll he found in his grandmother's house that resembles her appearance from her blue hair down to every detail of her clothing. While exploring the rest of the house, Coraline stumbles across a door in the wall and lets her curiosity take lead by begging her mother to open the door to see what's on the other side. Upon being met with a wall of bricks, she becomes deflated at the lack of new adventure it would have offered to her and accepts her new life to be as dull and lonely as it has been since moving in. This soon changes after she's walking during the night and led back to the door by the ragdoll and finds the door glowing through the seams. She opens it and finds a colourful and intriguing tunnel to another door on the other side. Coraline crawls through the tunnel to the other door and finds herself in a more uplifting and idealised parallel world that mirrors her one that we were introduced to in the first act of the film, yet presents factors of her life in the way that Coraline wishes for them to be, the main aspect being her other parents that pay attention to her and show her immense love and affection. She becomes entranced with this other world and eagerly visits every night until after several trips into this world, her other parents invite her to live there forever, with the small request that she let the other mother sew buttons into her eyes. Terrified at the realisation that this world isn't the magical fantasy she thought it was, Coraline attempts to flee but is stopped by the other mother as she controls this world that she has created, which we learn is designed specifically to entrap Coraline into staying there forever. To escape and find her way back to her parents, Coraline must defeat her other mother and save the souls of the other children that have been taken by her. The film's darker tone is atypical for a children's film, as they are usually uplifting and light-hearted to cater to this demographic and not invoke any sense of fear into them. Coraline subverts this as the film is mostly aimed towards more mature children and above, which can be implied through the darker colour scheme in its contrast to a brighter one filled with primary colours that would attract a younger audience, as most animated films include in their stylisation. The contrast between the dull colour scheme in the first act as we follow Coraline's everyday life and the colourful vibrancy of the other world makes a clear choice at which setting would be more preferable and more ideal for a child of any age to live in. Any parent will immediately recognise that this other mother and other father are too good to be true. They're more affectionate and talented, and they obviously don't work for a living, therefore allowing all their undivided attention to go towards their child. But Coraline is entranced by the dazzling, super-saturated night world, with its garden of snapping dragons, a circus of performing mice, and all the treats she can eat. In her dreams, the grass isn't just greener, it's emerald. This aspect of the film presents an ideal visualisation of a child's dream parental figures that can act to draw a young audience into the whimsical nature and attractiveness of the other parents, and follow Coraline's lead in falling victim to the other mother's trap of luring her into this world, thus also making the film feel realistic in the narrative it's trying to convey. The colour scheme difference also aids into the storytelling of the film, as Coraline is fixed and telling its tale in a very grounded and personal demeanour. The themes and messages are portrayed subtly and in an organic way without being too over the top or made less serious to appeal to the light-hearted tone of most children's films. The film is set on telling its narrative in its own way without any interference of breaking the serious and mature tone to conform to the mainstream standards of animated films. At its core, Coraline can be interpreted as a film about child neglect through the relationship Coraline shares with her mother. In their interactions through most of the narrative, Coraline's mother comes across as cold and dismissive towards her, almost refusing to give her the time and attention she needs as a child. However, the world and treatment from the other mother juxtaposes this, with her mirror parents of sorts providing Coraline with a way to work through and process the neglect she's fallen victim to. Playing in hand with another theory surrounding the film, the other world discovered through the tunnel can be interpreted as a complete fantasy made up by Coraline as a form of escapement from her harsh and lonely reality, as well as her trauma. The way this is explored through the narrative and embedded into the themes creates the personal tone of the film, and implements the horror aspect by forcing the younger audience to put themselves in Coraline's position, with her relationship with her parents, and the events and situations she is placed upon through the narrative. The film's overall visualization as well as stylization is a big factor of the film's popularity. The film has a particular style in its cinematography that draws audiences in as well as heightens the horror aspect of the film. Being unique in its stylization, the visual representation of 3 different stages in the narrative to convey the different tone of these stages only adds to the film's distinctiveness. These 3 stages being as we are in the real world, Coraline's initial view of the other world, and the other world as Coraline views it for how it really is, and as it dissolves into a trap. It is particularly notable how elements of shot, colouring and imagery shift as Coraline begins to realise the true nature of the other world, and as it crumbles around her, and how it changes from being an idealised space to a frightening one via these stylised visual choices. Adding to the overall beauty of Coraline is knowing the massive amount of work that went into the painstakingly handcrafted sets, character design and stop-motion animation. Completing the film involved more than 500 people over 4 years. Principal photography alone took 18 months to complete. The enchanting, melancholic music by Bruno Calais is somehow both soothing and creepy, and enhances the unsettling feeling of the other world to complement the visual aspects on screen. One thing about the film being stop motion is that all the details are purposeful and done and included with intent, therefore easily making Coraline a rewatchable film that always has more and something new to offer with each and every watch. If you have any thoughts on Coraline, make sure to leave them in the comments below and subscribe for the next one.